So it's been a while since I did a BS podcast, and so like if you're newer to the channel, these are kind of very rambly, even more rambly than a lot of my normal videos. Super unscripted. Not that I script a lot of stuff, but kind of just ramblings about some of my background and some of my like personality traits and tastes and explanations, maybe about like how I sort of form like my personality that I push forward on the internet and stuff. I kind of like to keep these as like an archive over time. I like to like go back and like listen to some of these, and I like to sort of put them as like a time capsule for future Miasma, where he goes to listen to this and he's like, "Why did you talk about games for X amount of time, however long this is going to be? Because you're not even that big of a gamer. Uh, why did you used to have? Why did you used to say that a third of the channel was going to be games and it's not?" Um, so I guess we'll. So these are. I guess we'll go back to when I was like really young, and I think I've mentioned this before, maybe in a Segoy Boys podcast or something or whatever. But oh, I should bring up these are the BS. This is Bearded Senpai podcast. It's ironic because I'm not going to be on the screen for these. I have a beard and I'm Miasma Senpai. Get it? Haha. It only took me a minute 39 to do that. Um, but BS is funny because it's like bullshit. Get it? Because I'm just gonna sit here and bullshit and not even talk about what the video is about for 2 minutes. So video games and me, like, we have a very odd relationship. I wish I was a more avid gamer almost all the time. Pretty jealous of like avid gamers. However, I've played a lot, what I consider sort of a lot, of certain video games. Just not. My catalog is very small. And there's like. I try to like reflect on why that is. And I don't know how much it really says about me or anything, but when I was really young, uh, I am the first of two children in my parents that my parents had, and I like to consider myself sort of the experiment kid for a lot of rules, a lot of sort of expectations, a lot of trial and error. I think being the first kid. I think being the first kid, you kind of deal with that a little bit. Not to say that my upbringing was bad. I love both my parents. I've had my dad on the channel before. He's in a different BS podcast, I believe. He does watch anime. Go check that one out. That's far more entertaining than this. Go listen to that one. He's a really cool dude. He's someone very nowadays. He's somebody very into. He's somebody that's very into like what his kids are into. Where when I was young, he was kind of different in that regard. I think. So growing up, we like never had a ton of money, and my neither of my parents come from a lot of money, and I kind of think that they expected their first kid to. I think everybody wants like the best for their kid, and they try to say my kid is going to have the best life. My kid is. I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna. If somebody doesn't like something about their parents, I feel like generally they push against whatever that action or belief system that they didn't like in their parents. They try to avoid that with their kids. And I feel like my mom and dad really wanted me to be like, this is gonna sound weird, but like the best that I could be. And it was odd growing up because we didn't have a lot of money, but my parents both, mostly my dad, my mom, my dad like worked his ass off like to put me into a private school. Okay, I live very close to a private school, and it's part of the church that we go to. And my dad went to like Catholic school for a chunk of his life. Um, my mom's not like nearly like as religious, but she's like she was on board with it. And thought like the idea was like, well, all right, well, just let's get our kid in a good school. So I went to this like private school, which was preschool through eighth grade. And I went there for that entire time. I actually did preschool twice, which is why I'm older than a lot of the people actually I went to school with, like in my grade. I was not really getting along well with other kids in the preschool, and not really picking up on all of the things that they were picking up on as fast. Kind of explains a lot of my personality now, if you ask me. But so they opted for me to do preschool twice. But regardless of that, my dad was super adamant about sort of like school being like the first focus. Like it was like school and then like extracurricular and kind of like making sure that those things were like your priority. So school was always like really important. Like report card time was always huge. My dad is the kind of person that like reviews your report card with you. Like anytime it would come out or like progress reports or anything like that, my dad, it was tradition that my mom would put it by his recliner chair in the living room, and I was to expected to sort of go and sit with my dad and go over it. And this happened for I think maybe with some people this happens like when you're little kids, but this happened to me like through like middle school, uh, when I think a lot of kids are older than like probably like usually out of that age range with their parents. But long story short, he did not allow me to really have video games like at all. I was very adamant, dead set against it. He didn't really have video games himself. He I think played a little bit of like flight sim, whatever flight sim was like around back then on like the Commodore or whatever, something like that. He had some, but I think that was I might be missing on my timings, but I think that was like around like college age or something like that. And so he just saw like no, he really didn't see any value in me playing games as a young kid. He saw it as a detriment. He used to tell me that that shit would rot my brain and that I just didn't need it. And so I mentioned the private school and the money issue for this reason too. I was often alienated in that school, I feel like. And I feel weird saying that because there are kids that got it like they got it a little worse than I did. I got bullied, I never got like beat up, my money taken. I got emotionally bullied quite a bit and just picked on for like not going on fancy vacations and stuff like that, and having like we always had like definitely like we've always had like used like shitty cars that my dad's able to fix up and make like workable. And I'm not ashamed of my background or anything at all. It was just weird growing up like that, and I really hated a lot of the kids in my grade for many years. Now, keep in mind, it's a very small. It was and still is a very. It's even smaller now. Was a very small private school. Like in perspective, my eighth grade graduating class was 26 kids total in the entire eighth grade. There were 11 boys, 15 girls, if I remember correctly. And so that number like was around there for like your entire time there. That's kind of a weird, kind of a cool benefit I see in that kind of education is like obviously the teacher student ratio is like unbeatable because it's just 26 kids and they even like they would even separate us by like the kids that were like in advanced math and advanced science versus like standard or like whatever. So at some points it was like split in half. So you'd have like 13 kids in a class or whatever. So I kind of like the idea of the school. I know a lot of people like aren't like religious these days or whatever, but I still am to an extent. We'll talk about that at some point in the future on a different podcast, I'm sure. But I was down with with the Jesus growing up, and my dad was and is it's and like I liked everything about the school but the other children, and the other children really sucked. And so I was very alienated. I would specifically dislike things because they like them. So like the Red Sox, I live in New England, and so the Patriots, the Red Sox, the Bruins, anything that like the other boys in the school would talk about, I just pretended to really not like, and it kind of developed into like I enjoy sports, and I just don't like any local teams basically because it started there, and I just never really wanted to go back away from it. I have more valid reasons now because a lot of the teams here like cheat and stuff, but and they win pretty often, which if you don't like a team and they keep winning, they're pretty unlikable. But so I would specifically not like the things that they liked just to be different, which is kind of a weird way to go about it, but that's the mentality that I had in like grammar school was I don't care if they make fun of me. I'm not going to let them win by like saying, "Yeah, I like that thing that you like." Maybe a weird mentality to have. I don't know if anybody ever felt the same about that, but so I was already alienated. And I also now had no video games. When I was young, I enjoyed wrestling, and nobody else at that school really watched wrestling. So, I didn't play video games. I'd go home and I would watch wrestling, and I would have no idea they would be talking about like Zelda and stuff, and I'd have no idea what they were talking about. I've never played a Zelda game in my life to this day, as I said in my manga review of it. Um, but never played a Zelda game. Uh, the first video games in general I put and like pretty much any I would eventually get them. The very first thing that I ever really played was a Game Boy Color, but it was I can't really base a year on this, but it must have been way late in its life. Like because I think that I had an aunt or something get it like probably at like a yard sale or something, and they just like went to give it to me, and I remember my dad was so upset at my aunt, and like not like to her face or anything, but like had like disdain, and he just did not buy me games for it. And so, um, like whatever games came in that yard sale, like I don't even know if they were like any good, but I remember one. Like I think Pokemon Silver, if that makes sense, if that was on the color, I think it was. Because Pokemon Silver was the first ever game that I was like really invested in. I love that game, and Soul Silver is my favorite one of all time because it's just like everything I loved about my childhood and then more. So I never played the first generation Pokemon games. So whenever like maybe Silver came out, maybe this is I don't know if Silver no it couldn't have been new. I don't know what time frame this all is, but it's gonna repeat itself because I had just the color, and I played the shit out of Silver, and eventually it got to I want to say it was like middle school age, and I'd gotten kind of older, and my dad was really my dad is very into like reward for positive behavior, punishment for like bad behavior. And I don't mean to make him sound like a dick or anything in this thing, but because he does listen to my channel sometimes and watch stuff. So I love you, Dad. But he and I don't really disagree with doing this with your kids all the time, but he believes in earning things 100%. So I don't remember what exactly I had to do for this first one, but I had an uncle, one of my dad's brothers, that was willing to get me a Game Boy Advance SP, the cobalt blue one, because I think I saw it in a picture or something. And I don't remember if I had to like clean. I don't know. I don't know. After all these years of being like so harsh on it, my dad very easily gave in to me getting this SP. I don't know if I had to like clean the room and the porch and like part of the house. I know I had to do like some amount of like labor around my house just to get the Game Boy Advance SP. And so I played that, and ironically enough, my dad has never been against me playing Yu-Gi-Oh. So or like Pokemon cards, like physical card games, he has no fault with or whatever, even though that could also be an equal waste of time. But So I played the Pokemon card game, and then the obviously like I talk about all the time. Like I love the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. I still play today. I played off and on over the years, but I was into it back then. So around like middle school age. And I remember on the Advance SP, my favorite game, one of my favorite games of all time, is Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition Stairway to the Destined Duel. And I remember that whole paragraph of a game title that it has. And uh, I love that game. I probably played that game. Soul Silver might be the only game I think, maybe or probably Overwatch at this point. I would say the games I played the most in my life, like time wise, be like Overwatch, like Soul Silver, and then it's gotta be Stairway to the Destined Duel, because that was like the only game I really like needed for like a long time, and that's kind of one thing about me with games in general, and I think it's because I didn't play really anything for like a very like long time compared to, I think, to a lot of people. Is I don't need a variety of games. I am very happy with a couple games that I really like, and I like putting a lot of time into that game once I like it. And it's gotta catch me. It's gotta really get me going and keep me there, because if it does, I get bored really quickly. And that doesn't really happen to me with anime. It's weird. It's a very odd difference that makes me think about it a lot, and maybe kind of think about talking about games here. But Stairway to the Destiny Duel is fantastic. It's a great Yu-Gi-Oh game. If you like the older rules and stuff like that, it's really fun. It's got a cool kind of story to it, where you're in like the Battle City arc of the anime. It came with 3 cards, I remember. And but it was perfect, kind of blending. Like around then, my private school that I was at got two. I'm sorry. Well, got the first of 2 new students, and while I was not good at making friends with the kids that existed in the school, I for my latter middle school years, I was pretty good at like making friends with the new kids. I think I just was like a vulture. Like I was like, oh man, I need a friend, please. Will you be my friend and hate everyone else with me? And I got lucky with this one. In like maybe this is like 6th grade. So, but he didn't. He ended up like moving again. His family moved like a lot, so he was only in the school for like a year or so. And so I would play. Uh, Me and this kid made friends, and he was really into Pokemon, like way more, even more than I was, and Yu-Gi-Oh. And we would play on Game Boy Advance, like link cables. We would play Stairway to the Destiny Duel, and we'd play and stuff like that. But eventually, like we had a very short friendship. He ended up like moving. We kind of just like lost touch, and things happen and stuff like that. Like he was like one of my like first like friends that I like really enjoyed hanging out with. There are friends that I lived with on my street. Uh, that I would hang out with. I like them of like various degrees. Some I still talk to once in a while to this day. Some I don't really talk to anymore and stuff like that. Some were major contributors to bullying against me in my young life. But that's kind of a different discussion, I guess. But it's when you're starving for friends, you'll kind of just reach out for anybody, and the ones that I still want to talk to, if some of them listen to this, I mean, if they know me enough to keep paying attention to my channel, then they know you pass the test. You still matter to me. And if I've just completely ghosted you, then I don't need to talk to you anymore. So we'll just leave it at that. And that'll those people listening, that is so esoteric. I know that because the only people that know what I'm talking about are like very specific. So if you're listening, you know who you are. But back to video games. So me in this case, so this kid ends up moving, right, and I kind of like lose like faith in like playing the game really at this point. I played like there's like an Astro Boy game, Omega Factor, that was pretty cool. A lot of it was like money too. Like we really did not have a lot of like money. Like games were considered like expensive in my house for sure. trying to think what else I would have. Occasionally, I would play like a game on my dad's work computer. He would randomly get like deer hunter games. He's not really like a hunter in real life, so I feel like it's he likes like the idea of hunting, so he would get the games and stuff like that. I remember he got NHL 2001 at one point. It was on the PC, and it was like a, but I didn't play it that much. And in school, we would sometimes play backyard baseball. That was pretty fun. But largely growing up, it was the Yu-Gi-Oh game, it was the Pokemon game, a little bit of Astro Boy, and going into sort of like maybe it's got to be like I think seventh, eighth grade. My dad gave me this incentive of achieving straight A's, all A's on a report card, which I'm not really like. I don't consider myself like super smart, not super dumb, but not super smart. I was usually like a B student. I would have maybe one or two A's, right? And he told me that if I can change all of those to A's, then I would get an Xbox. I would get whatever console I wanted. And long story short, like I worked at it, worked my butt off, and got straight A's. This is either seventh or eighth grade, I believe. So this like I don't know, 2006, 2007 ish. And I believe I could be wrong, but that's fairly late into the original Xbox's life. If not, it was already over. Now, keep in mind, I was a very like isolated kid, so I probably had no real idea that it was that late in its life. I had just seen people with Xboxes and was like very like jealous. Like I probably had no idea of the 360, even if it was like announced. I would maybe watch G4 once in a while, but I would really only like watch like X Play and like Arena just to like see the gameplay. Like I didn't really have like a knowledge of the industry, if that makes sense. I had no like, oh, this new console thing is coming out or something like that. But I was watching like Arena. Arena used to be a G4 show. I was watching back then. It was G4 Tech TV. I was watching that way before I played games on console. But I got the original Xbox, and I got Halo, Combat Evolved, and then I got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Two awesome games. I've loved the Halo franchise ever since. I guess I had played Halo a little bit at like other people's houses over the years. I had played like the Pillar of Autumn mission like a bajillion times. And so I finally got to play it, and I loved Halo. I continued to play Halo I played up through 5. I don't know if I'll play it anymore because the game's kind of suck now, but loved the shit out of Halo. Soon after that, the 360 came out, or it was already out, or something like that. We're getting towards like high school at this point, and so I really only played the SP and the original Xbox. So we get to high school, and freshman year of high school, I do no sports for the first time in my life. I went from a small private Catholic school to a public high school with about 1,000 kids in it. And so my grade went from like 26 kids to like 200 kids. And those years really, like, finding my identity was huge. If I think I have to do it now, it was crazier back then. I had a bit of a downward like weird spiral into trying to be weird again, like intentionally, not just being weird with my own normal personality. And one weird thing that I had was like I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna hide. I guess I'm just not gonna play any sports or whatever. I had some interest in playing football and stuff and track, and I just didn't do those in ninth grade. And 10th grade comes around, and I sign up to play football, and I so I started playing football, and my dad makes this stipulation again, where he's like, now, the 360 was out, keep in mind, so this is like I think '08 maybe, and '08 '09 or whatever, and he tells me that I have to get a sack in a game, and if you don't watch football, it's when you tackle a quarterback or whatever. But and I did do it in a JV game, so it still counted. But I did get a sack that year, and we sucked at football. I am not by any means a great football player. I was far better at track. So we do that, and or I did that. I get the sack right, and I'm like, cool. I'm gonna get this 360. So we get the 360. My dad buys me that, and he buys me Halo 3 by then. I had played Halo 2, like obviously, but so we get to Halo 3, and Halo 3 was my favorite game for like a long time. I think up until like maybe a couple years ago. I played the shit out of Halo 3. I loved Halo 3. I finally had Xbox Live for the first time. I had never played. I don't remember if 2 did 2 have Live? I think if it did, I didn't do it. This is my first ever time playing multiplayer games online. This is like I don't know. So this is like sophomore / junior year, maybe like the summer, or well, no, it's near football season, so like the fall. So 10th grade, and I'm loving life. I'm loving Halo 3. And he's like, but my dad, he's like, you got to keep the grades up with this. He's very, watchful of how sort of this was. Because I think he didn't want to, I think while he was starting to, like, let the chains loose a little bit, he still wanted to, like, keep them there, right? So my grades started to slip a little bit. I was playing a lot of games and honestly not focusing on my work as much. My grades slipped a little bit, and he did take the system away from me for like a month or something like that. And I remember that month really sucked. It was really bad, but I got them back up a little bit, and I ended up getting it back. And then it really started to loosen as I got older, get into like junior. Maybe like junior year or something like that. Again, I could be off. It's possible that I'm off on these by like a year or so. So if this doesn't sound right chronologically of when the consoles released, sorry. But I do know that I got into like every console very late. Besides I think the 360, because the next one would be the 360, which oh no, we already did the 360, right? Yeah, and I had Halo 3 on it. The next one would be the wait a minute. Yeah, the 360. Because 360 I played Halo 3 on, right? So and I had actual Xbox Live and everything like that. That was cool. So I just had a 360. Then we go into college, and college I was like a little more free. I played my 360 like a little bit in college. Eventually I did go to get an Xbox One, and that I paid for myself with just money that I just made over the summer and like that. And my dad was just kind of cool with it. I remember being like very anxious to sort of ask him if it was okay if I just got it. And I remember on the same day I bought a TV and an Xbox One. And it was really cool. And so and yeah, so that ended up happening, and I'm trying to think. In college I also got into the 3DS, not the 3DS, the DS, and that's how I started playing. I think it was like my freshman year of college was Soul Silver. If not, it was like my senior year. So Pokemon Soul Silver. So basically, I played Pokemon Soul Silver a ton. I played a lot of Halo. By then, it was Halo 4, which isn't very good. Eventually, Halo 5. I'm trying to think other games that I might have sort of like dabbled into. Not many. I've tried a lot of games and there's not like them. I remember I played there's a freaking Madagascar video game from that shitty Pixar movie, and we would play it like a lot for it. It has a mini golf video game where it has like 18 holes of mini golf, which is like a better game than the actual Madagascar platformer game that it is. Funnily enough, So I played that a good amount. Just played like it's just like mini golf on my Xbox. Um, so that was pretty cool. GTA stuff like that. But like it's always been this weird disconnect for me because like people play everybody I know, and on the internet like there's whole like YouTube channels dedicated to playing. Like they have like a collection of like 1,000 games, and that is so. And I'm somebody that collects anime, right? So this what I'm about to say shouldn't be weird to me, but it blows my mind how you like need that many games. And I'm not saying that that's like I'm not saying that's the correct way of thinking, but it's just the bizarre thought that I have for whatever reason. Like it just seems weird to me to have that many games, whereas I have a bajillion anime DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that. I could watch a bajillion different anime, but I just don't. I don't spend that much time playing the games. Like I'd rather watch anime over games most days. There's some days that I don't feel like watching something, and then I feel like playing a game. So, oh, I also forgot to mention the NCAA football games. Duh, the college football games. I love college football. I play those a lot. I gotta mention those. Sorry, this is all really out of order, but I play the college football games a lot. That's mostly on the Xbox 360. Or it was all on the Xbox 360. I don't think they ever came out with one on the Xbone. Um, and then I think it was like my last year of college or whatever. Yeah, 2016 Overwatch comes out. I believe 2016, and I was really into Overwatch, and I saw its like previews on YouTube and stuff like that, and I thought it seemed like a really cool looking game. So I played it in its beta on Xbox One, and then I got it the day of release on Xbox One, and that was in like May. So then we went home from college, and I had one or two of my college friends also get the game. So we were playing on Xbox Live. We would play together like every day, pretty much. But eventually, they started to slowly go to play other games. And this is something that's continuously happened with me is my friends like to play a variety of things. I'm really into this one thing, and I'm a very competitive person. Like I think that's like with the sports and stuff like that, and even like with Yu-Gi-Oh, sort of. Even though I like to play like fun decks in Yu-Gi-Oh, I'd still I prefer to play like anti-meta, but I also really like winning. And if I'm not winning, then I'm not really in the best of moods and stuff like that. I'm a sort of a sore loser, and I like games where I win. This is why I don't really like a lot of like solo player games like and stuff like that. I never really played a bunch of like RPGs and stuff or like Pokemon. Like when I play Pokemon, I like it to be very easy. I like to like basically have my stage 2 Pokemon by the end of the first gym. Like I don't like my Pokemon to ever get knocked out. I want to kind of just beat everybody up. I know it seems odd, but I'm just being honest here. This is the honest BS podcast here, and I don't know. I just liked it to be easy, and I don't know if it's if I laid down on a therapist chair. I guess I don't know if it's because I consider life so hard that I want the games to be easy. But I just wanted to win, do what it took to win. So I took Overwatch pretty seriously enough for me to finally invest in a gaming PC. I turned to one of my friends who had already been a PC gamer for a long time, and I said I had been working my job that I'm still at to this day for a while. I got hired. I was lucky to get hired right out of college, and I started making actual money. And I said, I'm gonna put some money aside, and I want to have a PC that I can play Overwatch. I was really only interested in eventually making videos. That was another sort of thing, making videos and playing Overwatch on the PC. And so he's like, cool. He helps me. I give him some cash. I buy him. He comes out. He was kind of far away from me. I'm like, cool. I'll this like state fair thing was happening the same weekend I had him come out. So I got him dinner and got him lunch, and we went to this like state fair thing that weekend. He built my computer. Had some interesting issues with some RAM sticks. I got one bad RAM stick, so and I took too long to send it back for warranty or rebate, whatever. Or I got two bad RAM sticks. So I had 16 gigs of RAM, and only 8 of them work. So I learned the lesson. I don't know much about computers even still, but I learned the lesson that like if you're trying to run 16 and you only have 8 if you only have 8 gigs of good RAM, your game just crashes. So I remember that happened as he was driving home, and I was like, "Oh my god, what is happening?" And it happened a few times, and it was literally I had him on like speakerphone with me trying to fix it, just like taking the RAM stick out, putting it back in, stuff like that. Now keep in mind, I had him do this because I'm no good with computers or hardware at all. Like I am awful with technology. I am super boomer. And I don't know, but it just luckily I had him, and like I haven't upgraded a ton of the PC like since then. Besides like mouse, keyboard, pretty much that's like pretty much like it. I used to be on Wi-Fi, but I eventually got a Ethernet cable. Yeah, so I've been on 8 gigs of RAM since then. But I love this thing to death, and I love playing Overwatch on it. Overwatch became like my big game of choice. Then I started what was Gyre Media, which eventually became Miasma Senpai channel. Gyre Media was supposed to be anime, gaming, and tech stuff. If you watch some of my older, if you go back to some of my older videos, there's a little Gyre Media intro, and it's introduced a lot of this Gyre Media, and that's really how I got the start. Some of the more popular videos are actually Gyre Media videos. Or talk about like tech and stuff like that, but obviously I have no knowledge in that. And originally this was supposed to be 2 or 3 people working on this channel, and eventually it just kind of whittled down to just me having the time to be able to do it. And like I was supposed to be the anime guy, another guy was supposed to be the tech guy, and another guy was supposed to do like game content. Well, they whittled down to just me. So anime content it became. But back to games. Played Overwatch a lot. If you don't know what Overwatch is, it's like a team shooter. I guess I'm pretty sure everybody knows what Overwatch is. I play support. I did on console as well. Moira is my favorite character to play. So I played from so this was like later 2016 or so. I played a fuck ton of Overwatch. I should have looked it up before this, but I've definitely played like over 1,000 hours, I'd say. Maybe not, maybe. I think. If not near there. I don't really play as much anymore, so it's kind of hard to like remember. But I played a ton. Loved like the competitive ladder that it had. I love playing support characters. Has a very cool I just like the idea of winning as like a team and stuff like that. And eventually I got kind of at the same time I was getting tired of playing solo, and I wanted to sort of to play for an organized team. And just before then they had released my favorite character Moira, who is a support character that is not very like aim based at all, stuff like that. She doesn't use a gun. She drains your life force basically with one hand, and that refuels her other hand, which is a healing ability for her team. And she can also throw these orbs. There's an orb that's purple that does damage. There's an orb that's yellow that does healing, and they sort of bounce around walls and stuff like that. She's a character that pisses off a lot of people because she has a very low skill ceiling. But you know, I never played PC shooters or anything before, so I gravitated towards characters like Moira and Mercy a lot. Because you can get a lot done in the game for not a ton of like physical effort. It's a lot more like mental kind of shit. It's a lot of and I learned a lot about this like as I got into more what I call like serious Overwatch. I eventually joined just via like Discord and Reddit and stuff like that. I joined a team called Oh Gosh, I should mention that like by then I had hit. I was one tricking Moira for a while, like which means that I was just playing one character in pretty much all of my matches, and I loved Moira so much. I really wanted to be like a Moira streamer for like a couple months. And if you look back, if you look deep into this channel's archives, there are some old streams where I call myself the greatest Moira player ever, which I'm not. I got up to Diamond. Diamond is the highest rank I ever achieved in Overwatch. 3070 SR, I believe, if you do play the game. 3070 is the highest I ever achieved. I don't really play as much anymore from time to time, but so this was I think 2018. Later 2018, I joined a team called Oh Gosh that I found either on Reddit or through Discord. And I basically just wanted to join a team as a support player. I wanted to be in serious tournaments. I got really tired of playing with random people on ladder and stuff like that. And they had tryouts, and I met some really cool people on those tryouts. People that I'm still friends with to this day. And that that was a big stepping stone for like my quote unquote Overwatch career. That's kind of where it really, it was short lived, but where it started. Uh, I I was finally part of a team. I was finally doing semi organized things. We would have like a couple scrims a week, and we might do a VOD review of our games and stuff like that. But it felt very good to be relied upon for like in like a competitive sense, and at the same time I was hanging out with people that wanted to take the game seriously. A guy that supported me on Patreon, this guy named Lax, who fucking great dude. One of the coolest people I ever met playing the game. He's admittedly, he'd be much higher rank if it wasn't for him getting so frustrated and stuff like that, which I think happens with a lot of people in that game. Uh, but and but yeah, he's a really cool dude. He's supported me even though he doesn't really watch a ton of anime and stuff like that. He's once he found out I was doing YouTube and stuff like that. Once he found out that I had a Patreon, he like fucking joined up like real quick. And the dude's just people like that, man, are few and far between. Like I'd love to meet him IRL someday. He knows that. Hopefully he's listening to this. Maybe I don't know. But shout outs to I don't want to I'm not gonna call it everybody, but shout outs to like anybody on Oh Gosh those that is listening to this. That was the major stepping stone. The other one that I definitely want to mention is this guy Bruno, who is a he was when I met him. We were near the same rank in the game, high platinum, like low diamond ish, which is like slightly above average, if not average, in the game's ranking system. And last time I checked, he has worked his ass off so far that he is, I believe, like high masters to low GM, grandmasters, whatever, which is like one of the highest you can be in the game. So that's a lot of climbing that he's done. One of the best players I've ever like physically played with, like no fucking like not no lying. Like any game that I've ever been involved with, I've played with people like in scrims and stuff at like a higher level, and even when I was playing with Bruno at like the lower level, I was like, this guy is he's really good at certain aspects of the game, and he deserves to be a higher rank, and I'm really proud of that dude. He's obviously one of the better players I've ever played with. So, shout outs to that guy, I guess. But he works really hard, and so it was cool to see these nice people that were willing to work hard at the game, and it really invigorated me to take the game seriously. And it was at this point where I had this sort of like split decision of like spending more time making videos or spending more time playing Overwatch, and I kind of wanted to do both, and I tried to do both for some time, but eventually Overwatch sort of took over for a while, and things with that first Oh Gosh team were sort of changing, and like I don't know, I just got kind of tired of how they were going. We had a lot of people on roster, so there's a lot of people like just not getting a ton of playing time, myself included. And so I said, I'm gonna try and do my own thing. I'm gonna make my own team here. And so I went to start my own team, and I convinced Bruno to come along with me as my other support. Because best player I've ever played with, pretty much. So I got him to come with me and Lax. But Lax's schedule also changed like near the same time. We eventually got our coach from that first team. Another very good friend of mine, Crazy Knife. That will be the last name drop, I promise, maybe. Crazy Knife's a great guy. Said, you want to help me with this? And, his schedule was also changing, but he gave me what he could. And with that, me being like competitive, I'm like, I'm gonna make this team like we're gonna work hard and we're gonna win and we're gonna like I was like we're gonna try and look cool while doing it. Little did I know, looking cool for me is very weeby, I guess. So I made Devote was our team name, and I got a logo made and stuff like that. I have a video about I made jerseys, and I sent out jerseys to everybody I eventually recruited onto the team and to the coaching staff and stuff like that. So it was, it was online Overwatch, but it was pretty serious. We had like coaches that were, wanting to get experience coaching people to go to like a higher level, because Overwatch, pretty serious esport. I know esports like are on in a weird realm right now with the virus and everything going on. But everybody had aspirations of climbing, whether you're climbing while coaching or climbing while playing. It was all progressive, and I like that. And slowly it started to and I like a lot of my friends started to get better at the game, admittedly, than I would. And while we did recruit a roster of a lot of really cool people that I was playing with, a lot of like really awesome guys, still friends with to this day. People that have really really changed my life for the better, honestly, and I don't regret any of these experiences. But eventually, things start to go downhill. We were trying to make like an academy team and stuff like that, and that sort of worked out. But people's schedules and life and everything was sort of getting in the way. And the people that were more serious started this a newer team, and they had tryouts for that. And they said it's going to be very, very serious. We're going to play a lot more than the Devote guys play. We're going to, aim for much higher goals than what we were aiming for. And I did try out for the team, and obviously did not make the cut. They're like a like masters level team. I did not really expect to make the team, in all honesty, at all. I kind of looked at it like a last hurrah. I was like, I'm gonna give it what I can give it. And at the time, I thought Overwatch was gonna be what I was doing. There was a very brief period there where, and this is weird comparing it to how I just did not play games for a long time. There was like a month period there, early on in this year, I would say maybe like toward like February, where I was very committed to making Overwatch like everything that I did, and my content on YouTube really reflected that. I was not really making a lot of videos and stuff like that, because I wanted to get as good as I could be in Overwatch, and I was watching all of my friends get better than me, and I kind of felt like an anchor holding everybody back. And kudos to all of them. They never pushed that belief on me. They never gave me a hard time about anything or anything like that. And in my heart, I believe that they never looked at me like that. And that's kind of cool to like think that's true. But in all honesty, like I was kind of holding them eventually. But they did get to excel and stuff like that. And that higher echelon team is still around, and I'm still talking to them fairly often, stuff like that. And some of them watch my videos and everything like that, and I wish all those guys the best for sure. And I don't regret any of that experience. It was very enjoyable, very fun, very competitive, something I just really wanted to do, and I really really don't regret it,
but I'm glad. Like, that really opened up my eyes. Not making that team really opened up my eyes because it made me like realize something that I think that I knew in the back of my mind. Whereas, you know, and a lot of people like I don't know. It's I think I'm going to like anime like forever. I damn sure am not going to like Overwatch forever. I'll look back on Overwatch as this cool thing, but I think that esports being what they are, being kind of like fickle and about like the new game. Like, look at like everybody's jumping towards Valorant now. People are going to play Overwatch. Overwatch 2 will come out. Am I going to probably play Overwatch 2? Hell yeah. It looks pretty cool. It's not like I'm never going to play Overwatch again, but I don't know if I'm ever going to be as serious as I was, and serious in like big air quotes. But fairly serious. Like, I have like a fuck ton of hours on Moira, to be fair, and a ton of and a I would say a higher than normal number of hours into the game. It was really the only game that I played. On PC, tried to play some Guild Wars 2 with my friends, didn't like it. Tried to play some Path of Exile with my friends, didn't like it. Tried to play Borderlands and just was not into it. I don't know. I don't know what it is about me that I don't get. I honestly don't really know what it is that grips me to a game. Maybe it's the competitive nature. I don't know. But I was like, knowing that I'm like that, I was like, why don't I just stick to my guns? And why don't I go back to like more to making anime content more often? I can talk about games and something like this. I could play a game, whatever. Have my channel be whatever I want it to be, because that's really what it is. It is true freedom to have this channel, and I love everybody that watches me and supports me and everything like that. And I was getting more into Yu-Gi-Oh again at the same time. So that's, if I'm not if it's something like, if I'm thinking about a game, it's likely that nowadays. And who knows what it'll be like a year from now or something like that. But I'm not nearly as into Overwatch as I was then. I was super super into it. On the verge of it being, the only thing I did, and that's such a crazy comparison to when I played nothing. And I would just play like hockey in my backyard, street hockey in my backyard. That was what I did every day after school or whatever. No video games or anything until near middle school, and then we flash forward to when I'm 26, 27, and considering trying to go pro. But I don't know. I think you learn from a lot of experiences in life, and I think I learned a little bit about myself from this. I think I'm just like a competitive person, and I think I am admittedly even starving for friends to this day, and I think I'm attracted to competitive people. I think, or sorry, gravitated. Wow. Gravitated toward competitive people, and I don't know. I think you're figuring. I think you figure something out about yourself, and your personality changes like pretty frequently. So I don't know. I'm trying to, with this like Overwatch break that I have, obviously trying to make more content for the channel, trying to watch more stuff, finally doing like consistent episode reviews of like Tower of God now, and I'll probably pick something out for the next anime season to talk about, and I'm gonna hopefully check out some other stuff from the season and pay attention to more of what my patrons want me to watch. I wanted to try an anime RPG, or just like a game that was like, it looked like an anime game or something like that. Somebody recommended the Tales series to me, and it works out perfect that I have an Xbox One, so I found a copy of Tales of Vesperia that I started the other night. I'm very little into the game, like just like 2 hours or so. But I'm liking it so far. I really like its art style a lot. It looks like anime. The story is very anime-esque. The characters are very anime. It even has an OVA. I don't know. Yeah, I think it has an OVA adaptation. And one of my patrons actually asked me to watch Tales of Symphonia OVAs. So I'm going to do that too. So I'm getting kind of into the Tales series at this point, just because it's anime game. Maybe I would have been a little more into games if I had gone the PlayStation route, because there's not a lot of anime games on Xbox consoles, and that's what I had always. I've never had a PlayStation, So I've never played Persona. I've never played Final Fantasy, even though I know that's not really like anime game, but never played Persona. I never got to play the cool Inuyasha games on the PS2 back in the day. I suppose I could on PC now, but I mean, I don't. Like I said, I don't play a ton of games really these days. I don't play anything really on my PC besides Yu-Gi-Oh! Online on Edo Pro or Dueling Book. Depends on whichever one I feel like using. It's just a free online Yu-Gi-Oh! Simulator. But I play that even and more so now, obviously with the COVID stuff going on. But even that, I'd rather play in person. Something about a tangible card game I just like. But yeah, I don't know. It's odd. I was sheltered away, hidden from games in a castle, and then I eventually saw them and got addicted. Pretty much, played a lot, learned a lot about myself, got decent at the game. I would say, not great. Met a lot of really cool people. And I'm very grateful for that because if that experience didn't happen, I would have never met a lot of those people. And a lot of those people pushed me to make content on this channel. And I don't even know if I'd be sitting here talking to you guys if it wasn't for those people. So I don't regret that decision at all. Very cool experience. If you've been listening this whole time, thank you. I really appreciate it. If you had a similar like gaming experience, or if you have something based upon my preferences or something that you might recommend, I guess put that down below. I can't promise that I'll play it or anything like that, but I am interested to see your sort of maybe your gaming backstory, stuff like that. I kind of like hearing about people who are like they were addicted to WoW or for like a certain amount of time, or like EverQuest or something back in the day where they were just flat out addicted. And it's it's like a reflective thing of like, oh yeah, I would play this every day for like X amount of hours, and now I do something completely different with my life. But yeah, I want to know about that. Please let me know about that down below. I have a link to the Patreon if you want to consider joining that in there too. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody, or listening rather, I guess. Yeah, it means a whole lot to me, and thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.